So, starting. Due to a considerable degree of variables that could have taken a number of upcoming scenes, starting from the end of last session, in any number of several different directions, that would have been the next 2 or 3 sessions of the campaign. So they were then done in text play, as preparing everything for live sessions was just simply too much work. Fuck that shit. I'm gonna do it. Too much work. The following is a summary of minor events, followed by the text play responses recorded, as they were exchanged in chronological order in universe. With that said, with the tail end of the Trial of Space having concluded, with Sakura now donning the mantle of the hero space, the party turns their attention to the task ahead of them in Tinkertown. Though before calling it a night, Quinn and Olivine set out to reach the sacred prayer altar of the Huntress in the nearby Gamekeeper's Grove, at Odigos' instructions. With Lady Spiaspodoc's blessing, hunting down the conspirators' VIPs tomorrow would be made considerably easier. With a marty in hand, Quinn and Olivine ventured deep into the forest, the sacred grounds of Poldir, the goddess of wildlife. However, what would normally be a grueling and dangerous trial with one of the Huntress' faithful present was made into an eerily silent walk through the woods, because no beast would dare approach the two, as these beasts instinctively know that death is always just one step behind the Reaper. Thanks to this boon, the prayer altar was reached without incidents, well, save for the considerably difficult terrain the two had to navigate. Quinn then called forth the goddess Skiaspodox using the summoning ritual, where the goddess was quite amused with what she found upon manifesting, especially once Quinn explained the reasoning for seeking an audience with her at such a time and place. Because upon handing the goddess the note that Odigos requested Quinn to give her, Skiaspodox took one look at it before letting out a laugh and burning the paper away. Because the information Odigos had obtained was in fact a trap, one that acted as an early warning that someone was looking for the conspirators' VIPs, because their true identities, as well as their true forms, are currently being obfuscated by a lie from the divine champion of a powerful god or goddess of lies. Something that very few beings, god or otherwise, can see through. However, such trickery would not work on the goddess of hunting, as her divine power allowed her to see right through the lie as if it were merely glass. However, the goddess could not simply tell you two who the true identities of the 10 were, as such would be a degree of foretelling of knowledge far too great. Instead, she bestowed upon a blessing on Quinn to allow him to know his target the moment he lays eyes on them, as well as the ability to track his quarry relentlessly after having done so, should they somehow manage to evade him. And to Olivine, she granted the intuition to know the general area in which your targets could be found. With these new boons, the two returned to camp to get some rest before the eventful day that would follow. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the forest near the camp, Eliwick had retreated to a nearby stream to reflect on the events of the day, as a considerable amount of things happened. One of which being that Morty had undergone a change the night before, and now possessed the ability to speak telepathically, where he asked of the significance of telling time, as well as what the concept of time is and how it worked. It was not long after this exchange that Eliwick was approached by Matilda, who noticed the forest gnome woman's earlier trepidation. Where Matilda then proposed an offer, which would allow Eliwick to harden her mind and heart, so to speak, something that would be necessary for the road ahead to come, as it had become clear that Eliwick was too soft for the cruelties and realities of war, which would be coming. Something that she was aware of deep down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our cracks are already starting to form, and this is just like the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So Eliwick deep down knew that this was true, She didn't want to admit it, because to admit it would cheapen the growth that she had experienced over the past 2 weeks. However, even that much was simply not enough. Something that Matilda expressed to her. Though Eliwick's allowing Matilda to help her would not be without benefit, as Breachno knew how to push a person into a mental corner, forming them to have to overcome this said hurdle that was being thrown at them, and through the process, unlock the potential to manifestation part of their soul through their mind. An extremely rare phenomenon that would happen sometimes when a person is pushed to the brink in a stressful situation or in response to a need in times of great mortal danger. Eliwick agreed to this, knowing that it would be mentally trying. However, before Malt could begin, Eliwick was whisked away by an unseen force and found in an unfamiliar space. And that is where we begin the first portion of the text play recording. And we go voop over to that over in text play.
Yeah. Black transition screen.
Alright, and we continue then. So as soon as Malt apologizes, the world around you darkens before everything fades to black, except for you. You stand up and take a look around you, finding nothing in all directions. Although very suddenly, you feel as if you are physically pulled really hard, almost as if a giant hand had wrapped themselves around you, then yanked you away from something else. It was already really strong. However, you are soon met with the warm, soothing energy that just washes over you, into you and right through you, almost as if you were washed over by warm water. However, you don't feel wet. It's kind of weird, honestly. Like, you're underwater, but also not underwater. You also notice that you no longer feel the need to breathe, which also feels really weird. After a few seconds pass, the black all around you starts to fade to reveal you now to be somewhere else. Taking a look around, you notice that you are currently suspended in a transparent liquid inside of a, judging by the shape and texture of the walls, ceiling and floor, a ginormous golden star tetrahedron. In other words, a perfectly symmetrical 8-pointed star. You then notice, floating several feet above you and away, in what looks to be the center of the space, is a woman that you've actually seen before. During Matilda's evaluation battle against you, all this woman appeared and largely hid behind the Dragonborn gentleman who was also stayed and watched the fight. Now that you get a better look at her, she looks to be a light bluish platinum-haired woman that looks to be in her early 20s. She also has 2 crazy long twin tails, which float aimlessly around her, like wisps, which you are certain are at least twice her height and length, if not more. After a moment or two, she seems to perk up a bit, before looking towards you, where she offers a dainty wave. Immediately following this, the space a few feet in front of you seems to ripple and distort a bit, then being all sucked into a central point. And as it does, another woman very suddenly appears in front of you, which seems to cause the liquid all around you to just calm. You notice that she looks exactly like the woman behind and above her, except much shorter twin tails, though shorter is relative, as they are still really long. Regardless, she looks to be the same person, only that she looks to be 16 or so years old, roughly. She then flashes you a smile, speaking up almost excitedly. Hello and welcome to my divine spark. I am Fasella, the Golden Witch, the Witch of Opportunity. She then points to the other woman. And that there is also me. She is Vasella, the starlit dreamer, goddess of dreams, and first seed of the pantheon of the stars, though I call her Evangeline. You have never heard of a pantheon of the stars before. And it kind of sounds like someone you would know about by proxy of your gran or a rather pious individual. If this Vasella woman wasn't clearly a witch, the woman behind her clearly a god, you wouldn't have believed her. Seemingly as if noticing your apprehensions, Vasella continues. Oh yeah, that's right. People don't know about the new Pantheon yet, as it hasn't really been publicly announced yet. Well, congratulations! You are the first living mortals to learn about your world's new third Pantheon, the Pantheon of the Stars. It's a mortal ascendi Pantheon, made up of gods who are mortals that have underwent apotheosis and achieved godhood. It's a long story and it isn't really relative right now, but yeah, so I digress. Saladin points at you candidly. As you are no doubt wondering, why the heck am I even here right now? Well, let me save you the trouble of asking and answering that for you. It's because your mortal plight reminded me a lot of myself, and what I had gone through. She folds her hands over her chest. I had my mother very abruptly taken away from me, and did everything in my power to bring her back to me, though it was a very, very long road, one filled with countless hardships, one that led me to having to do a lot of really bad things to people who I honestly didn't want to hurt, but had no choice if I was to continue down the path of returning my mother to me. More often than not, those I had to hurt were guilty of nothing more than being in the wrong place at the wrong time. She softly shakes her head. You too will be going down a very similar road with the choice that you just made. By choosing to continue to walk the path laid out before you, you will face many hardships and be forced to hurt those you really don't want to, but will have no choice if they refuse to back down. This struck a chord with me, so I looked into your past and found a whole lot of me in you, or to be more precise. The girl trails off as she turns to Evangeline with a warm smile. A whole lot of her, before she became the wicked monster that is me. After a few moments, Vasella turns back to you with a surprisingly serious expression. You are an honest soul with exemplary virtue, one who is far too kind and caring to weather the evils of the road ahead of you without it changing you forever. Matilda knows this, so she was about to help temper your mind via trial of fire so that you could withstand them, which would have helped you harden you for the road ahead, yes, and it would have allowed you to gain a stable manifestation of the mind too. The woman then pauses for a few moments before continuing. Let's see. Change you. There. Wait, where the fuck am I? There we go. Alright, so, Vasella then continues. However, as both the goddess of dreams and the witch of opportunity, we hold the keys to another way, because us witches have been watching you and your companions since before any of you all met up, while I personally have not done with you. Largely due to my being busy with other affairs. The others have, and have had nothing but good things to say about you. Well, almost nothing, but good things to say, because they all say that it is very unfortunate what you will have to go through, and that it will undoubtedly change you from the woman you are today. Estelle offers you a surprisingly sad look, actually. In fact, she looks as if she's almost about to cry, even. So she takes a moment to compose herself before softly shaking her head as she cups her hands over her chest. After I obtained Evangeline, and experienced both the joy that is having her brought to me and the sadness I felt first seeing hand of what I used to be like, before I started down the road that I have walked to get to where I am now, I made a promise to myself and to Evangeline that should we ever encounter a mortal who has a harrowing path that they must walk, that we would do everything within our power to help them. Because as a goddess of dreams powerful enough to have left the world's dreamscape in order to walk amongst you mortals, it is within our power, authority, and privilege to do so, which is precisely what we are going to do. The witch pauses for a moment, as the walls, ceiling, and floor of her spark all begin to shine brightly with a warm golden glow. I, ironically, have not yet had the opportunity to use this, as I was saving it for this exact purpose, and as luck or fate would have it, this is also the perfect opportunity to actually use it too. The opportunity around Fasella begins to ripple as she brings her hand to her chest before the witch continues in a powerful voice. I, Fasella, the Witch of Opportunity, hereby decree Eliwick Loriella Hambelian to have a golden opportunity to safely become the divine champion of Fasella, the Starlit Dreamer, while still legally operating at the mortal level with the same restrictions as if she were the highest of station of Fasella, the Starlit Dreamer. Before Fasella is even done, a stupid smile is plastered on Evangeline's face, and once the witch does finish, the goddess speaks to you with poorly subdued excitement. I'm gonna have you voice Evangeline, because I don't do cinnamon buns.
Alright, so you want me to do it?
Yeah, so you do Evangeline.
Okay, I must. I was.
She speaks a lot like Fasella, but just much softer.
Yeah, I was prepped on the other response. Scroll. As Dream Warden of Edenland, the paragon of hopes and dreams, I request in my official capacity that you, Eliwick Lorilla Hambelian, champion my will, so that you may aid me in tearing the despots who have so brazenly trampled upon the hopes and dreams of our world's mortals, and to deny the hopes and dreams of those who would threaten the future prosperity of our cosmos by seeing our world enslaved or destroyed.
Fasella then offers to her own smile. Trust is the single most important factor in championing the will of a godly being. And the fact that you actually possess enough virtue to weave ether is all the reassurance that we need to know that our world's 3 biggest secrets would be safe with you, Eliwick Hambelian. Evangeline nods before raising a finger.
Though, before you decide, know that I will not be able to grant you any further empowerment beyond my imbuing you with a small measure of my essence, as it would, probably kill you, honestly. Nor can I provide you with my spark to further aid you, as it is currently being safeguarded by the Witch of Wishes and Miracles.
She pauses for a moment, quickly becoming flustered and fidgeting with her fingers as she continues.
I know
Also, she speaks a little slower.
I know it's, and unreasonable ask, considering we are to deny you so much of what we should be providing you with.
The goddess very quickly begins to blush for one reason or another.
But if you're, okay with that, would you still be willing to, do it?
And now I believe we go down to your response.
Mm-hmm.
Where the fuck that is. Because I can't jump to it.
I got it.
Well, first it's the checks. Wherever fucking number 2 is, I can't get to it.
Okay. Gotcha. I gotcha. I got you. There.
Alright, there. Now I'm to it. Alright, go on. So essentially, that one and then the one just a little ways below it. Actually, there's 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's this one, the little one, and the bigger one. Go on.
Oh, you want me to read it? Okay. Vasil's being perfectly frank with you. This woman has experienced a road of hardship that has shaped her into the person that she is today, which, based on what she said about herself, is far from her ideal self, which Evangeline appears to be. She genuinely wishes to help you because she sees a lot of how she used to be in you, and that she shared a lot of similar experiences with you. Evangeline's a little hard to read beyond that she appears to be excited to do this, and appears to have similar sentiments as Vasella. It is easy to tell that, despite being the same person, technically speaking, it is abundantly clear. I'm dying today. But the two are very different people.
Also, you're official bullying a little.
Am I? Am I good now?
Oh, I thought it was only me.
Okay.
Yeah, she's freaking blubbering and her turning into a fishbowl.
Yeah, like the end of your words are kind of shaky.
Okay, am I good? Am I good? Am I the good?
No.
Okay. Okay, I reconnected. Does that solve the problem?
Perhaps.
Okay. Let's go.
I'm gonna have you guys read your own text. I'm not gonna read all this fucking text.
Okay.
Because there's a lot.
It's honestly hard to say.
Not with this part, but I mean like the other one too.
Okay, it's honestly hard to say this would be Evangeline's first time having a divine champion or not, though judging by how Priscilla speaks of Evangeline, she makes it sound that she hasn't been around for very long. I'm not really sure how that is possible, but that is the impression you get from both women, actually. It is pretty clear that Evangeline feels really embarrassed by the fact that she's asking so much of you, but is offering so little help. You don't know much, well, anything about divine champions, but based on what she has said, godly beings are supposed to provide much, much greater aid to their champions than Evangeline is for you. Though considering just what this woman is, it makes perfect sense why she cannot, as she is very clearly in hiding. You're not sure what she means about paragon of hope and dreams, but if you consider what the model, or what the word literally means, I tripped up because of your misspelling, a model of excellence and perfection of a kind, a peerless example of something, and the fact that she said the paragon of hope and dreams, and she spoke relative to not only your world, but the cosmos as well, you think there might be only one paragon of something. Also, the fact that Evangeline is secretly the actual Dream One, suffice to say, this is a big flippin' deal. Still, I wasn't kidding when she effectively said you have been entrusted with the tippy top of your world's top secrets.
No, that's the next one. I can't get to it.
Yep, that's me. Okay. I don't see any other checks.
Yeah, it was just those 3.
Yep. So, after taking a moment to reorient yourself, given that...
I can't get to it.
Yep, I know. So...
Where is it?
Here.
Alright.
After having just resolved a identity crisis, just about...
You know,
and then suddenly being torn away from reality and made to appear before a pair of immensely powerful entities. In some strange space for the second time in 3 or 4 days, Elric looks between the two women of the same self before clearing her throat. Well, that's a high honor to be the first to know something as big as an entire new pantheon. It's been a lot of firsts for me lately. But anyway, that's really interesting. I would be curious to ken the story behind the establishment of that one sometime. But I understand. One thing at a time and all. Her gaze drifts across the space for a few moments before a small blush forms on her cheek. So, this is a divine spark. I didn't think it would be quite like this. I'm flattered you would go as far as to invite me to this space. Oh, and a pleasure to make your acquaintances. She has a quick curtsy. Then, as Drusilla begins to explain her motivation for bringing her here, the seamstress looks to the witch with an expression of uncertainty and growing sympathy. After the full explanation of Drusilla's plans and why Elric was called here, the seamstress gives a slow nod with a small smile. Elric turns to the woman called Evangeline with a curious look before giving the other woman a big, warm smile at her nervousness. Is this a first for you as well, Miss Evangeline? From what I understand of a god choosing the divine champion, it's a right big deal. But if you're a little nervous, there's no your nay alone in that. Imagine how it's like to be the mortal in this situation, suddenly being brought before one of the higher beings of our world and be given the chance to work directly under him. To be honest, if I hadn't met gods before, I'd probably be right flustered myself, and it still feels a little overwhelming. I can't say I've ever been a divine champion before. So I'll be much in the same boat in that. Plus, it makes me happy you're so excited to have little old me. I'm real grateful for the invitation and your offer of aid, power or nay. So, don't feel bad about it. Elric then gains a look of contemplation as she looks between the two women. Though, before I answer ye, I do have a few questions if you would mind. Elric softly claps her hands together once. If I'm understanding this right, based on what I've been able to read, what you're essentially offering me are certain protections afforded to highest of stations from cosmic level threats, while at the same time providing privileges afforded to divine champions to act in certain situations than the former normally could name. I am not entirely certain, but I think divine champions can only receive greater indirect empowerment from their god when up against more formidable foes. So that might limit their actions against me. Is that correct? Could you give me a few examples of how the station works? I've only just started learning about the ins and outs of the power structure and mechanics of divinity and the cosmos, so I'm just making sure I got the right idea about it. On top of that, there's the 3 biggest secrets of our world, which you're gonna make me blush with all these high praises, but that's part of the whole deal of what I'm tasked with that comes with accepting your request, I imagine. There's a small smile on the woman's face as she continues. I'm not too displeased if you can't give me more power, seeing as I literally couldn't handle it. I'd be okay with that. What I've gathered about your request, it's still a sizable boon. We just learned that we're going to a den of deadly vipers, so I need all the help I can get to keep alive and be able to achieve all of this. Which, again, you wouldn't be making this request of me, nor making this a great thing to give me such an opportunity if you didn't believe that would help me. Don't get me wrong on that. I just like to read my contracts too properly. As you say, trust is a single most important factor, and being informed is part of that.
Drusilla nods at your question regarding the technicalities of how the station would work. Yep, that is correct. Because as a Witch of Opportunity, I hold the power to change the rules in an isolated incident. Though this is super powerful ability that only I can do. So I've never used it until now. She offers you a soft smile. Because if I was going to use it, I wanted to help somebody when I did. And I don't really have a record of helping people that much. Because I have a secret that you are about to learn, which I am actually the goddess of evil, However, due to the fact that when I became a greater being, I had the domain of hope, meaning that Evangeline and I cannot do acts that are evil for the sake of evil, only necessary evils that have a net positive benefit, which is what you all will also be doing. She gives a sympathetic look, because you'll have to eliminate those you would rather not, because if people won't back down, then there is nothing you can do about it, thus making it a necessary evil. However, my being the goddess of evil will also provide you with some degree of protection from other evil beings. Vasella then looks to Evangeline. Oh, and that's not to say that we cannot empower you at all beyond what you will be passively, only that we cannot do so unless you are in the most dire of straits. Like if you will die if we do not further empower you. Even then, we will not be able to do it very often. So it is best that you try to avoid exceedingly dangerous situations, if it can be helped. Evangeline then speaks to you with a soft blush.
Yes, this would be my first time taking in a Divine Champion. In fact, it is the first for either of us.
She then pauses for a few moments before continuing somewhat sheepishly.
So, does that answer your questions, Eliwick? Eliwick then briefly raises an eyebrow at Vasel's declaration before giving a slow nod in the direction of both. There's a brief pause as she considers Vasel's warning, though after a moment, she responds with a small smile. Thank you for your insightful answers, Vasella. They were really helpful, and I appreciate the heads up. She then turns to Evangeline before giving a curtsy. Yep, that would do it. I humbly accept your request to champion your will with all the responsibilities thereof to help rid of us of the despots conspiring against our world. It would be my deepest honor to serve you, Evangeline. Evangeline does a small, somewhat excited twirl at your answer. Fantastic! She gets a look of realization. Oh, may I, see the dress you made?
You went in your Hollywood voice there, and just like, huh?
No, that was just excited freaking voice break. That's what it was.
It's like suddenly she became Irish there for a moment.
Irish Evangeline, oh god.
Fantastic! I don't know. My voice is not all there today. I sleep bad.
Okay. Vasella's like, oh, and can I see the spider silk armor you made?
Eric giggles at the display, perking up with curiosity at the sudden request and obliging swiftly. She presents the incredible dress and the armor before the goddess. Certainly. Privately, Elwick notes how especially unbelievable this situation is and how her papa would never have believed her if she had or could tell him just what is transpiring right now.
Oh, you know, only the boss of the Crystal Sphere is like, hey you, work for me.
Mm-hmm. And Evangeline begins to glow white with divine power before speaking up. For this to work, I need to, first cleanse your consciousness and soul, which won't hurt or anything. It's because opportunity is the purest natural substance in existence, and quickly becomes contaminated when in contact with other elements for very long. I'll be able to actively stop that from happening once I've imbued you with a small measure.
Vasella then points at you candidly before commenting on that. Which is the politically correct way of saying, girl, you need a bath before I do anything with you.
Evangeline blushes a bit at this. Well, I, wouldn't have put it that way. But she is, not wrong. Everything in existence carries trace impurities, be it living or inanimate. So if I interact with you before those are removed from you, it'll contaminate me, which will, take a bit to clean out of me.
A look of realization then dawns on Vasella, before she then hops onto one foot and holding out her arms, and she just like hopped as if she's standing on something, but she's just floating there. It's like her little habit. The sound was like, "Oh yeah, another thing you should know. I hope you didn't get too attached to being an Aether Soul yet, because you won't be after this. Don't worry, you'll be something much better. Instead of a bunch of creation-y, magic-y mumbo-jumbo that you can't even really take advantage of, since you're not a proper spellcaster, it'll be a lot more practical for you. It's kind of hard to explain, but you'll understand when it happens, and I'm certain you will like the change too."
As the witch finishes, Evangeline continues, "It'll make your psionics..."
Stella rubs her with a suggestion gesture. Shh! No spoilers! Like my ding,
Went to the rarity no spoilers thing.
No spoilers! No spoilers!
Alright, the goddess pauses a moment before smiling. Going to me.
Okay. Very well. Anyway, I'm going to begin. Just close your eyes and relax. It'll only take a few moments.
You do as instructed, and after a few, you feel soothing warmth wash over you, which is very similar to the feeling when you first entered the space, but it's much more intense, but in a good way. Almost like you're in one of those hot tub, bubbly bathtub things they all have all over the place in Kibohana. In fact, you feel yourself almost starting to nod off due to how pleasant it feels. Though after a few moments, it feels as if your mind suddenly clears with frankly amazing clarity, and you feel the most at ease and hell, you don't even know. There's no anxiety or worry in the back of your mind. You find yourself thinking back to your missing parents and feel okay, actually. Actually, you should read this one because I what is it? Fucking drawing blank. I Ellie-wichified the narration.
Okay. You feel the most ease in worship. What was the last thing you read?
Essentially,
And feel the most at ease in health. You don't even know. There.
Yeah, starting from the next paragraph. Yep.
There's no anxiety or worry in the back of your mind. You find yourself thinking back to your missing parents and feel okay, actually. Wow, that's different. Normally you feel guilty or anxious, and you just can't stop worrying. Though now, sure, you're just as concerned as before, but you don't feel, well, bogged down with worry and stressing over it like you have been for the past few weeks now. You cannot help but wonder if this is that one thing monks are always running around their whole life trying to find. Enlightenment. Yeah. You cannot help but wonder if that is what this is. Either way, you could certainly get used to this. You're able to feel concerned without endlessly worrying and able to think back to bad experiences you could probably learn from if you gave them a bit more thought. Because, normally, you just find your thoughts going straight out to anywhere but where you wanted them to go. Almost like you don't have any of that, trauma. Yeah, that's the word. It's like all the trauma you've gathered your whole life that would sometimes leave your mind like a stubborn mule dragging its feet just up and vanished. And in only a few seconds, hells, you feel amazing actually, because you still have all of the experience and learning you got from all of your mistakes and bad experiences of your whole life, but without any of the baggage you collected from it. Not only did you not think such a thing could be possible, you never could have imagined it would be so peaceful, serene, tranquil. A whole bunch of fancy words come to mind, though they all feel oddly appropriate. And as you think that, you feel a new sensation that feels weird. Almost like you were a glass of icky water that was just rinsed out and cleansed off all nice for the first time in ages. And now something else is being poured into you where all the muck once was. Something clean. Something... It's hard to put a finger on it, actually. The one thing you realize really quick, you feel powerful. Like super powerful. Like you could even take on grabs right now. Well, okay, maybe not that powerful, but definitely way more than before. Hell's that power just keeps going the more time goes by and the more of this clean stuff is being poured into you. It then hits you what it is. It's that opportunity stuff, isn't it? Vasella did say that you wouldn't be an Aether Soul after this, but something else much better and more practical. Did you mean like an opportunity soul or something? That's a funny name. Like you're some sort of new entrepreneur just starting out, ready to go out into the world and make it big. Now do you actually think about it? That's actually pretty accurate, ain't it? Your mind's all fresh, new and clean, like a business dress you'd wear to a big first meeting with a promising new client. Meanwhile, your soul's like it's a classic carriage, restored to pristine condition and ready to carry this Hambelian merchant woman back out into the world and seize new opportunities. Yeah! You can safely say that you feel ready to take on the world for round 2. But this time, you're ready for it. You have real life experience under your belt of trial and error, success and failure, new friends and recently lost loved ones. But you ain't gonna let that or nothing else get you down this time. So look out, Geotethys, because Eliwick Lorilla Hambelian is coming back at you. And this time, there is power behind this little punch. As you think that, you find yourself almost snap awake as you open your eyes and take a look around. You quickly find both Vasella and Evangeline waiting for you with large smiles. Though you find that you can actually feel the joy behind Evangeline's smile. In fact, you can easily tell that she feels overjoyed and proud of you. Considering she's technically Vasella, you imagine that Vasella herself probably feels something like that too. Evangeline then speaks up, holding a hand out towards you with your dress in. You probably want this before you go out for round 2.
Stella gestures a thumb to it. We took a few creative liberties with its magical effects, so that'll be better complement the power that Eve just filled you with. I think you'll like it, as it also has a little surprise in it, so go ahead and try it on. Pass all of the stuff.
Yep. Reading on it.
Where the hell's the next one?
I will find.
Because I think it was your response that was several days later.
Yep. After emerging from the wave of opportunity, Eliwick does a little jump of excitement. This feels amazing! For not being able to empower me, I sure feel real powerful because of you. Thank you so much. Swiftly, Eliwick takes her gear back and turns around to quickly change into her... Hold on. The little captain who was scratching on my door. Hold on. Alright, Cutie Pie is deposited in bed for now. Swiftly, Eliwick takes her gear back and turns around to quickly change into her masterpiece, her body now clad in a dreamlike dress as if taken from the night sky itself. With enhancement from the witch, it now shines more brilliantly here. She does a few twirls to see how the fabric moves. I really put me heart and soul into this thing, and now it looks even more beautiful. I really am a lucky lass to get to have created something of this like. She then turns to the goddess and her counterpart. So how do I make use of this surprise you mentioned? Evangelina titters at your remarks. I'm glad you like it. I embroidered dreams into the fabric, which makes the magical effects of it more powerful.
Your question about her surprise, Vasella points at you. Focus on your spider silk armor. Imagine that if you were wearing it and wheeling it forward as if you could wheel it forward if you wanted to.
Eloic nods vigorously before closing her eyes and does as instructed.
After you imagine yourself doing this, you find yourself suddenly feeling slightly heavier. And the feeling of your clothes against your skin doesn't feel quite right. So, opening your eyes, you take a look at yourself and you find that you're now wearing your armor. To which Vasella speaks up. Surprise! The two are one and the same. At least until you wanted to take it out of the dress and add something else to it. As you can now change the armor back to your dress like this. You'll also notice I did a bit of upgrade to your armor and make it a lot more customizable. Though you'll need a Magitech engineer to tweak with it and its new properties.
Eloic fixes Vasella with a tiny grin. That's so convenient! Oh, I cannot wait to show this thing to Malt. She'll have a field day with this one. She has an excited giggle. I kind of feel like a little like a child in a toy store. There's something fun about having new magical toys. Plus, I know Maud likes her odd devices, so it'll be fun to see what she can do with it.
Vasella and Evangeline stop, look between each other, before a smile back to this Vasella speaks up. That's about all we have to add. The granted to you will take a bit practicing to get used to. Though, that is something that's something you'll just have to do and get used to as the occasions arise. So if you're ready, we can send you back to camp.
Alright. And then there's a check come over here.
Yep, just down below it.
It is clear that both of them are really happy with the result of you managing to become the Divine Champion, and that Evangeline was able to repair your mind, so to speak. Vasella is genuinely happy for you, and that she was able to help do this for you. Evangeline appears to be as well, and is clearly very excited too. You don't know anything about Vasella's past, but based on how she phrased things earlier, and that she's the goddess of evil, she clearly must have done a lot of really bad things to a lot of people. Which is, well, kind of expected, isn't it? She's the goddess of evil. Not to mention your world is very special, based on what you've been able to glean from the handful of gods you've spoken with, as well as Lady Maria. So you don't doubt Vasella has had to do some frankly very evil things. So for her to finally use her power to truly help someone, she's very happy about it. Oh yeah, wouldn't this also make you the divine champion of the goddess of evil? As well as hope, which is inherently good. So you would then be the divine champion of good and evil. Which might also explain why Vasella is also amused right now. You're kind of a contradiction, much like herself. Though, wouldn't this also mean you have a whole bunch of sway of stuff that could or would be good or evil? Talk about a big responsibility. You have one hell of a task ahead of you, but you have these two to help you every step of the way, and you can easily tell both are more than happy to help.
Yep.
And we can just ignore the next
So
one.
essentially, we have Valikos, who's the god of order and chaos, and Vasella / Evangeline, the god of good and evil. Who the two work together to totally break rules without anyone knowing.
Yep. Vasella with them places a hand in her chin. To be honest, there's still a lot I'm not totally clear on with divine affairs. I only got this tome shy a week now, and before then, I only ken bits and pieces from throughout my life, really. Most of what Grandma would say every now and then of her own faith. So, it's been quite a sudden turn for me to adjust to. The book happened a lot, and I think I know which people I could ask for clarifications on things, including the two of ye when I'm back down, so I imagine I'll be fine there. But for now, I suppose I'm more or less ready to go back. Why are we seeing the two of you around?
And it's not
So-
breaking the rules. It's just doing stuff that's technically there's no precedent for, so there'd be no rules on it.
Yeah, it's like you and Facel are finagling some major bullshit, but
Yep.
there's no rules against it.
And nothing says I can't, so it's perfectly legal no matter if you like it or not.
Let's see, Facel gives a nod. That book contains a lot of information about the Chronicle of Mortal Fates. It is in no way a light read, but it has stuff that, as far as I'm aware, no other living mortal other than Sakura knows. I can't say anything about it other than that, and that you're on the right track with that book.
Vandalin nods. I suggest you finish reading that book at your earliest convenience, as it will not only lead you to better understand what might have happened to your parents, but also grant useful information regarding how godly level affairs work regarding the Chronicle, such as what it can and cannot do relative to you mortals. Upon her finishing,
Wait
she
a
offers
minute.
a smile. While I cannot accompany you with my spark, you do have a mental link with me, so feel free to ask me any questions anytime. I might not always be able to give you answers due to the rules regarding telling you too much of what you do not already know, but I'll try my best if I can. Jane gives a small wave, before your surroundings shift out of focus. And when they return, you find yourself back where you were at the stream, with Matilda not present. You can only assume she knows what happened, and headed back. And I believe that's it.
Wait,